Hey there, egg hatchers and Margaret Thatchers. Ooh, so British. Hey everybody, my name is John and welcome to ADITW, A Day in the Word, the internet's favorite Bible study. Happy Ash Wednesday, everyone. From dust you came, and to dust you shall return. It's all dust. Today we are continuing our journey through the Gospel of John. Oh well. Today we're continuing our journey through the Gospel of John by looking at chapter 4, verses 43 through 54. Go ahead and read, please. So we've been talking about the Gospel of John as the book of signs and sayings. In his Gospel, John chooses to highlight 7 signs or miracles that Jesus performed and 7 sayings or I am statements that Jesus made about himself. And each of these signs and each of these sayings reveal a different aspect or characteristic about who Jesus is. And we've already seen and studied the first sign or miracle, the water into wine, which is actually mentioned and called back to here in John chapter 4. But in this passage that we just read, Jesus heals the official's son. This man's son is on the brink of death, and Jesus, without ever actually visiting this kid, says, "Your son will live," and the boy is miraculously healed right around the time Jesus said that. And one thing that we learn about Jesus through this sign or miracle is that Jesus is a promise keeper. Promises, promises. But he's not just your normal, run-of-the-mill, everyday kind of promise keeper. Earlier in this story, Jesus seems a bit frustrated over the people's need to see and experience signs and wonders in order to believe. But here we read that the official takes Jesus at his word, meaning that he didn't need Jesus to show up, he simply needed Jesus to make the promise. And what we're seeing here from the official is an example of the type of faith that I believe Jesus calls each and every one of us to have. This kind of faith that says God doesn't need to do it, he simply needs to say it, and it's done. Whoa. You see, Jesus isn't the type of promise keeper who just accomplishes what he says he's going to accomplish, but actually, just by saying it, he accomplishes it. Growing up, my mom used to always hound me about cleaning my room, which makes sense, considering my room was never clean. But now, as an adult, Sweet Bear and I, we actually keep a pretty clean room. But don't try and tell that to my mom. Whenever we try and tell my mom that I'm actually a decently clean and organized person, she always says the same thing. I'll believe that when I see it. And if we're honest with ourselves, I think that's how most of us are in our relationship with God. A lot of us have a I'll believe it when I see it faith. I'll believe God is loving only when I get that special God feeling during worship. I'll believe that God has a plan for my future as soon as he gives me the job that I want or the grades that I've been hoping for. But the type of faith that Jesus encourages here is not the I'll believe it when I see it kind. Jesus is a promise keeper. And when you believe in the promise keeper, then you are willing to say, if God said it, then he will send it. If God said that he is working all things out for the good of those who love him, then I don't need to wait for him to work this breakup out for good. I'm just gonna take God at his word. And so the question that this passage asks us today is, are you willing to take Jesus at his word? Are you willing to believe that Jesus is a promise keeper? That what he says is true? That his grace is enough, even when you can't forgive yourself? That you are a loved child of God, even when you feel unlovable? That God is with you and God is for you, even when it feels like life is against you? Are you willing to live a life that believes that if God said it, then he will send it? Hey friends, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to get this hoodie or any of the other merch that we have available, you can click the link in the description down below. That is all the time I have for today. I'll see you all next week right here on ADITW. I love you all. Keep being awesome.